Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. I do hope that you're well. So today is the 8th of September 2022 as I sit down to record the second Nikola Tesla channeling video. And so I'm just noticing the flame in the background. I will probably upload it though on the 9th because, as we might remember from my first channeling with him, the numbers 3, 6 and 9 are very important with the Tesla energy, and it will probably take me that long to record this, edit it and upload it anyway. So you'll see this probably on the 9th. This is the second video that I've done, and I'm actually just looking back at the last time I did a channeling with Tesla. It was actually the 4th of October last year. So we're nearly a year on. I am not going to go over any of the information that I went through on that particular video. You can look back yourself if you want a refresher or you missed it. The video is called Channeling Nikola Tesla, The Lights Will Stay On. And how interesting is that? As right now, certainly my part of the world, we're about to face a winter where they are saying the lights might go off. Power shortages, fuel shortages. If you watch my last video, which was on the fuel crisis and food crisis, you'll know how synchronistic it is to look back at this work from a year ago with Tesla, where he assured us that the lights will stay on. That doesn't mean there won't be necessarily blackouts and shortages, but it's to do with the inner light that we all have and the ability to actually fire up the crystalline grid. I'll come back to that later on. I was going to read what the first video contained. I will just briefly say for those that didn't watch it. We looked at his birth, the circumstances surrounding his birth, the numerology of his date of birth, signs that he gave or gives when he's around. One of the big ones is lightning, and this week in the UK we've had a whole week of thunderstorms. In fact, I did just screenshot this because I thought no one's actually going to believe this stuff when I just happened to say these things. Did I screenshot it? It was basically here we go. So this is my particular area. It says, you see that? This was, I think, Monday evening. It said there were 36,000 lightning bolts across the country on Monday. So 36,000, 3 and 6 make 9. It's all the Tesla energy. And we've literally had so much stormy weather this week, and it's still continuing. So yeah, that's one of his signs that he's around. Another one, of course, is pigeons. We talked about pigeons being messengers. We talked about his relationship with women, his parents' marriage. It's interesting for me looking back on what it was all about, because also there was something where we were talking about cricket, and I kid you not, you see, you need you to understand, because I know lots of you are interested in channeling and how it works and how do you know you're actually tuned into somebody. And I'll tell you about the signs that have already happened this morning. But I'm now realizing, yesterday in the supermarket, I got chatting to the guy on the checkout, and he was like 23, something like that. And he was telling me all about the fact that he was going up to Lord's in London today to see the test match of, is it England versus South Africa? It's the first in the series. And we had this bizarre conversation about cricket and how much he loved cricket and the whole culture around cricket. And here I am rereading that Tesla was mentioning cricket a year ago. I love that. Also, we talked about the triad of power of Tesla, Thomas Edison and Westinghouse. I talked about past lives. I believed that, let me get this right, Elon Musk is not the reincarnation of Tesla, but the reincarnation, I believe, of Thomas Edison. I don't believe that Nikola Tesla is reincarnated back yet, although I can re-ask him. It's another year has passed. But I was identifying with a boy who was particularly into sport. Maybe it was cricket. I really can't remember. You have to rewatch the video. We also talked about the numbers 369, cellular multiplication, digital roots, the language of the universe, and more. I can't remember. But anyway, it's there if you want to go back and have a look. So I'm not going to be going over any of that stuff again. Let's just tell you a little bit about the signs so far this morning, and then we'll get into some questions from some of you that have come in this morning on Instagram, because I asked for some questions. Just the most bizarre signs. So I'm sat down to record this video and I suddenly hear like a knocking and a thumping on a door. And I thought it was somebody at the front door, but then Bella starts barking. I go downstairs and my husband has basically managed to lock himself in the toilet because we've basically got renovations in the house. So the handle had come off. So I literally had to open the door by sticking in a new handle. Think about the symbology of this. Humanity is literally, it's like we're still stuck in the bog, okay? We're stuck in the bog and we can't find our way out of this lower energy. So I had to literally put a doorknob into the hole, make it work to get my husband out. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then I come up here to my room and the door just will not stay closed. Admittedly, it's quite a windy day. I've actually had to close the windows, but the doors were just flying open all the time. And I realized, of course, this is Tesla basically saying, right now, humanity has a chance to open a new door, to enter a new age. It's actually really exciting. But there literally has to be a new doorknob. There has to be a new key. And there has to be a new intent. And he's showing me now in my mind's eye that saying about, you know, how there's a joke, isn't there, about how many whatevers does it take to change a light bulb? And it's basically along the lines of it just takes one person with focus and determination and the right energy and the right doorknob and the right key and the right code to basically open a new door for all of us. But equally, we all are responsible for opening that new door. This morning also, I was just getting ready upstairs and I suddenly became aware of the light that was coming through the Venetian blinds in my loft to such an extent that it was so staggering, the light that was coming through. I went and grabbed my camera and I took a photograph. So I'm going to show you the photograph. I put this on Instagram earlier. You know, it's just basically clouds with the light coming through it. The photograph doesn't really do it justice, but the light was just mind-blowing. And I asked for your questions for Tesla. Okay, I'll get to them in a moment. Thought no more about it. Sat down, thought I'll just shuffle the cards, just shuffle this deck that's been on a sort of altar dedicated to Tesla and the energy and the work that we're going to be doing today. Shuffled the cards. And I can't believe it. This card was the one that came out. I should have done it live on camera, but I didn't. But can you see? It's the same. It's the same energy of what I basically was presented with this morning. It's the light that's coming through the clouds. The light that is coming through the clouds. The sunlight that is coming through the clouds. Now, this particular card is from a tarot deck called the Japanese Tarot, and it's just got a very short little message that goes with it. This is actually the Judgment card, which of course is a major arcana within the tarot. And it says this. It says an apocalyptic, I can't say it, an apocalyptic atmosphere in which swarming birds, and Tesla's all about birds, he's about the pigeons, he's about birds, we talked about that last time. An apocalyptic atmosphere in which swarming birds fill a dark sky as it opens to the sun's penetrating rays. And it speaks of this card's predominant theme, which is of rebirth and release of the past. Judgment can also be seen as the synthesis and the unification of the male and the female spiritual distillations portrayed in the two previous cards. It's all about a new beginning, it's about an awakening, it's about understanding gained through reflection, and it's about making a choice or a decision. It's exactly what I was just saying to you about the doorway, the doorknob, the opportunity that's here. The other thing that he's showing me is a circuit board, probably no surprise to those of you that know anything about science. He's showing me a circuit board, but he's trying to break this down into very practical, everyday language to help me deliver it, but also to help lots of people understand where he's coming from. So he's using the analogy of a circuit board, okay? And he's saying that I think I'm right in saying this, that a circuit board has got places, levers, for want of a better expression, gateways, doorways, and you just literally have to flick a switch or flick whatever it is on the board, and then the current will move again, it will flow. And he's saying that those of you that wish the best for humanity and wish for humanity to evolve and to upgrade, whatever it is that you're wishing for, imagine in your mind's eye a circuit board, and the current, the flow of what you're wishing for, see in your mind's eye and in your visualization. It's literally like the signals on a train track as well, them going to green, so that the flow that was previously restricted and blocked by the closed door or hinge or lever, whatever it is able to get access to the next junction, is able to get access to the next part of the board. Because he's saying the whole of Earth's history and the whole of Earth's story is like a big storyboard, okay? Okay, so we might come back to that card. I'll put it back down, but yeah, the other thing he's saying to me here is obviously this card is also linked into the energy of solar energy. I think in the last channeling we talked a lot about the power of the sea and water to create power, but also the power of the sun, okay? The power of the sun to be harnessed to light up our world. He's actually saying to me that if and when the lights go out, and I'm talking here about power shortages, electricity supply cut-offs, etc. I know this is already happening in various countries anyway. South Africa, I know you have it quite frequently. But it's also interesting that South Africa is a very sunny country, because what he's showing me is that if the lights go out, then the other lights will become stronger to guide us. So he's showing me moonlight, but he's also showing me sunlight. And I think many of us have already noticed that the quality of the light from the sun is different than it used to be. And he's saying it's going to be powering up even brighter to counteract any darkness that is put here on Mother Earth. Okay, so if Earth goes dark, it's as though nature will have a way of being able to light it up better for us. So it will never go truly dark. Okay, so that's about the sun. The other thing I wanted to say from this morning's energy with him so far is that he said this. This was just me sitting down at my desk. He said, treat every day as though it is an experiment. Approach every day of your life as though you are undertaking an experiment. And he's showing me himself here in a white coat, I guess like a scientist's overall. He's got spectacles, which are sort of up here on the top of his head. And it's a sense of excitement that the scientist has or the inventor has when they are rolling up their sleeves to dive into a new day's research, a new day's activity, not necessarily knowing what the day will produce, what you will find out. You might have got various hypotheses in terms of how your day might go. You might have closed down in your mind. He's showing me the circuit board again, that you have closed circuits so that you just think that it can only keep carrying on along in the same track and the same flow. And he's saying that is true if you keep providing the same set of stimuli. So he's saying in experimentation, you introduce new stimuli, you introduce a new ingredient or a new suggestion or a new question, and then you explore that flow, you explore where that takes you, and it reveals something new. But if you've always got the same stimulus and the same ingredient and the same mental approach to every single day, you're going to get the same result. He says it's like a scientist going into a laboratory or a research station and for the rest of their life just only ever experimenting with the same thing. He said life would get very boring, would it not? So this is just a general suggestion for all of us to try to approach every day as a bit of an experiment. He said because ultimately you're in the biggest experiment going, which is the experiment of creation, God's experiment, God's experiment of the allness. He says it's so much bigger than any people realise when they are incarnated on earth. The infinite possibilities, the infinite number of ways that things can turn out. But you have to change the stimulus, you have to change the ingredient. Okay, so I think that's really, really good advice. The other thing he's showing me as well is he's saying a scientist, and he's saying you're all scientists. There's nothing wrong with being a scientist. There's nothing wrong with science. He's saying science has had a bad rap over the years. The way he says rap. Science has had a bad rap over the years. But he said heart-centered scientists who are working for God, who are working from their higher selves, who are here to help humanity, as well as their own natural inquisitiveness and their own soul growth, are to be lauded and to be praised. Let me get that. That's a little bit wrong, that last sentence. He's saying not to be praised. It's not an egoic praise, but just to, it's as though he's wanting to counteract some of the negativity around science right now. And he's trying to merge science and spirituality together and saying they can coexist, and they do coexist. So not to allow the bad apples within the scientific community to taint the whole community. There are many good scientists out there. But anyway, going back to what he's showing me now, he's showing me again like a research station. I want to say a research station, but like you have to have a clean bench is what he's saying. So again, you have to have a clear mind and you have to have a clear bench to be able to start your day anew. So I thought that was really interesting and worth exploring. Okay, a few things that have been coming up linked into his energy. So again, these are cards that have been sitting on my desk for a week or so, just as I've been welcoming in his energy. And there's a message that goes with them. I'm going to show you the cards first, and then I'm just going to go back into a channeling, because he's already told me a little bit about what he means by these cards, but I want to show you what they are. They're from the Wild Harmonic Oracle. The first one is the Celestial of Air, and it says the Spiral of Time. And the second one is the Dimension of Spirit, and it's Total Freedom. Okay? So firstly, you just absorb the energy of those two cards. Hopefully you can see them okay. We have one which is about time, and we have one which is about freedom. Okay, what I've written down on my post-it note when I first pulled them, what I heard him say was it's to do with your ability, even though you don't comprehend it, to be able to break out of your time, to break out of your peer group, to break out of your age, and that you can be anybody that you want to be when you break out of these restrictions. So we incarnate into a particular time period. And we all have incarnated multiple times. But right now, this is the age that we are all living through. We are living through the 21st century with the challenges that it brings, the gifts that it brings, the blessings that it brings, with the culture and with the understanding of what we know, with the religious background, he's saying, that still is dominant. We know what we know, we like what we like. And he says human beings by nature like to gather in tribe. People like to stick with others of like mind. But he says, and he's identifying himself as one of these people, one of these souls that was able to do it in his incarnation. A soul that comes in who is able to break through the barriers of the age in which they live, the culture in which they live. He says many of you that are watching this are like me, people that were either born ahead of their time, and that can be frustrating because you have ideas, you have energies, you have thoughts, you have a way of being which maybe is not belonging to this time. He says it can also happen in reverse. He says you can also have souls that are here that behave in a way as though they are belonging to a different age, an older age, with different courtesies and manners and charms. So he's saying, don't be too restricted by the age in which you were born. Be the soul that you are in every single lifetime. I'm now being shown the energy of Doctor Who, and I've used Doctor Who quite a lot in various videos, but he's showing me that as well. TV show, I know, but it's like the energy of Doctor Who, which is that he says we're all Time Lords, and it's as though we incarnate, we land on the planet and the country of our choice and the circumstances of our choice, which has been agreed pre-incarnation. And we step out of the Tardis pretty much looking the same as we have done before, pretty much looking the same is what he's wanting to say, as before we started the journey. But everything is different. The time is different, the age is different, the people are different. They're eating different things, they're doing different things, they're watching different things. And he says you have to acclimatise to a degree, but never lose the spark of who you are and never lose the spark of why you came, and that it's okay to be different and it's okay to plant seeds that are ahead of their time. He says people don't realise that they're planting time capsules every day by their thoughts, their deeds, their actions and their works. But yet people look for critical acclaim and they look for success and they look for fame as a measure of how well they're doing in any one particular incarnation. But the truth is, like me, he's saying, I wasn't recognised in the particular incarnation I was in. I was recognised to a degree, but I'm recognised more many centuries later or many years later. So it's to do with the longevity of the soul. And it's to do with he says the soul has long vision. He says, pick up the pair of binoculars. I wonder what these were for. I found these the other day. They're just a standard pair of binoculars. And they've been sat on my little Tesla altar. And I do believe he had binoculars. So it's a bit of a nod to that. But equally, it's something to do with being able to see through binoculars. Humanity, you, me, being able to see through binoculars and being able to see further. Is he's saying if you have a project, if you have a business, if you have an idea, or if you just have a way of being, he's talking here about having a higher consciousness, a higher frequency than other people that are around you. He's saying it's because you're able to see you're able to see further, you're able to see further into the future, and you're able to see that what you do now matters. Not necessarily even in this year, although hopefully it does, but in 10 years, in 20 years, in 100 years, in 200 years. So the binoculars seem to be important again he's also saying it's a sign that I'm around. So something about seeing binoculars. Oh, he's also shown me birds, okay, because I don't know if this is just a UK reference, probably not, but ornithologists, I think they're called, aren't they? They always have a pair of binoculars, don't they, to see the birds. And again, he's always talking about birds. He's saying bird watchers, they wait for the bird that has travelled from the other side of the world to just make a rare appearance. And the bird comes into that environment and it sits on that particular piece of marshland or tree, and you might see it just for, I don't know, 2 minutes, and you capture it through your binoculars. He says, but then that stays with you. The energy stays with you. But the bird has travelled for hundreds and hundreds of miles, it's like the Doctor Who thing. It's like getting out of the Tardis. It's like you drop in, the bird drops in, and it creates a vortex. Its energy is there, and it inspires, and it plants seeds and beauty in those that are lucky to see it. So he's saying, imagine yourselves a little bit like a rare bird. Imagine yourselves like a rare bird that has come to this particular earth at this particular time, that other people, if they're lucky, may be able to witness in their lifetime. And some people are very lucky and witness that bird for years, but other people it might just be a fleeting moment. So he says, never underestimate the impact that your energy can make, even if it is just a fleeting moment or once or twice. Your energy can stay with somebody for millennia, he's saying. You can actually change somebody's life. You can change somebody's biochemistry, he's saying, by just being in their space. And he's now showing me the senses, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of taste. He says it's a merging of the electrical fields. When you're in somebody's presence, and he says this also applies online, you're also able to, there's an exchange of, I'm just hearing biochemistry. That's as far as I can go with it. There's an exchange of biochemistry. There's a merging of the fields that is much deeper than people are aware of. And he says it's that saying along the lines of, you are the company that you keep. And he says that's where it comes from. It's not so much that you just start to mimic people that you're in the presence of or that you watch. He says it's actually, there's a merging of the biomagnetic fields. He says it's science, there's a science behind what's happening. He says, so be even more careful of whose presence you're in, who you choose to be around, who you choose to witness in this lifetime. He says it's a big part of why I secluded myself away a lot of the time. And he's showing me the hotel room, even though he was a sociable man and he still, talked to people and all the rest of it. But there was a lot of his life where he was quite secluded, whether it was in his laboratory, his research centre, whether it was in his hotel room. He didn't want the contamination of a lot of other people's energy fields. And he's saying this is a lot of the problem at the moment. People aren't understanding the cross-contamination of energy fields. And he's talking about human beings. And he's talking about density and population in huge cities. And he says it's why you feel at peace when you go into nature. It's one of the reasons. It's because you're not in contact with loads of other people's energy fields. It's as though everything gets fried. You go into nature and you're able just to resettle, and you are in the energy field of the trees and the grass and the air and everything else that's there, the stones, everything has an electromagnetic field, but they are purer in nature. He's showing me a stone, for example, a beautiful weathered stone, or a tree. He's saying they're better at being able to maintain their boundaries, their electromagnetic fields are purer, whereas human beings are a little bit more dirty, is what he's saying. He's using the expression dirty in terms of contamination. So it's very important, he's saying, to maintain your own vibrational field and help it to be as clean as possible. Okay, how can we do that, Tesla? I'm just going to have some water, hold on. Okay, it's interesting this morning that one of the only times in my whole life I went to put cinnamon onto my cereal, and this tea has got ginger in it. It's also got lemon, it's got manuka honey. They're all quite natural products, aren't they? So it's the energy of spices and herbs, natural ingredients, raw ingredients, things that have come from the earth, unprocessed foods, raw foods. He's shown me foods that have actually been pulled up from Mother Earth, and they've got he's reminded me of something I remember my dad doing when, you know, we used to plant carrots, and it's like the carrots, and they've got they're all dirty, aren't they? You know, all the roots are all dirty, and then you clean it all off with fresh water. And he says that has life force. That food has life force. He says people's electromagnetic fields and their life force is becoming depleted because of what they eat. They're eating overly processed foods, refined foods, and there's an energy here of needing to go more back to nature, to the rawness, to the purity of nature, as much as you can. He's saying even if you can't do it all of the time, when you say here, say for example, I've got a carrot I'm about to eat, okay? He says it's like being conscious that you're eating something of a high vibration, because the more you're conscious of what you're eating, particularly with good intention, it's a good thing to start with, that multiplies tenfold within the body, okay? So he says it's not enough just to eat good, healthy food. He said it's good if you do that. He says, but still, if you're doing it unconsciously, it's not going to have as big an impact on the body as if you take something like this tea and you consciously drink it, thinking of what's in it and how good it is for oneself. He's now shown me windmills, but he's also shown me the grain within the windmills. So grains, seeds, vegetables, basically, yeah. A healthy, balanced diet, light being important for the body. He says people are indoors too much of the time. He says I was actually indoors probably too much of the time when I was alive as well. He's showing me himself as an older man, and he was quite frail, and he says I got quite pale. So there's a thing about getting out in the natural sunlight, getting out in the natural daylight is crucial at this time. Absolutely crucial, he's saying. Okay, he's really going down the sort of the natural health route today, because he's also now showing me the shade of a big tree on a very sunny day, you know, to sit underneath that rather than... He's showing me that is a better way to approach a beautiful sunny day and the rays from the sun, rather than slathering yourself with loads of cream and lying on a beach and frying. He's not saying sun cream is wrong, he's just saying that the mentality is wrong, that I can slather myself with sun cream which will have chemicals in it, and then I'm safe to lie in the sun. But he's saying that isn't doing you nearly as much good as just basically being in the sun, sitting underneath a tree, not necessarily with all these creams on, because you don't need the creams because you're shaded by nature. Nature has a natural umbrella, is giving you a natural umbrella. Okay, back to these cards then. Anything else to say about Spiral of Time and Total Freedom? No, just that you can break free of your age. So remember Doctor Who, remember you're the bird that can migrate, and he's now showing me, okay, if you're this beautiful bird that migrates and comes here onto Mother Earth for however long you've got, 10 years, 70 years, 100 years, whatever, he's saying make sure you show your plumage. And he's showing me this bird. He says birds are very good at fluffing themselves up, you know, and they can just show the beauty of who they are. Show the beauty of who you are in this incarnation. Show the skills and the talents that you've got in this incarnation, and start every day as the experiment, the beautiful experiment that it is to be here in Mother Earth. Okay. The spiral seems really important today, of all the geometric shapes. I was also very drawn to bring out my spiral, my Ammonite crystal. And one of you sent me this, actually. Thank you very much. It's just a beautiful little Ammonite fossil. And I'll just read what it says about the Ammonite, because again, this is a way to help you connect back into who you are. The spiral, going inward into self, to remind you of who you are, to remind you of what you've got in the center of your being. You know, the talents, the skills, the gifts, everything, the resource, the ingredients, as he said earlier. But working with Ammonite, so its spiral shape symbolizes continual change and evolution. Ammonites have absorbed cosmic energy over eons of time and help to stimulate the chi within, often used for activating kundalini and life path energies as well. It draws off all negative energies, and the spirals act as a filter, drawing in these dense energies which no longer are needed and moving them through and releasing them. It can help with stamina and vitality. So that's actually from a website called healingcrystals.com. But yeah, you know, it's like it's the inward path and then it's the path back out. So working with the spiral seems to be something that he's suggesting, working with labyrinths, anything whereby you are engaging the mind to go inward, okay, and that. Right. Now, let's have a look at some questions that are going to be coming in for you, Mr. Tesla. Let me just go and have a look at what's going on Instagram. I asked for some questions, so I'm hoping there's going to be some there. Yes, there are. Somebody's put, is love the answer to everything? Yes, it is, he's saying. Okay. I'd love to hear more about alchemy and the 3, 6 and 9 energy, although I know you've covered this already. Okay, one thing we did say, Tesla, was we were going to bring something through for people linked into manifestation and the numbers 3, 6, 9. So you're on record in your lifetime of using these numbers to help and support you through your whole life. Talked about that in the first video. So let's just have a look at what he wants to say about the numbers 3, 6, 9. I want just to pull the 3rd card, the 6th card and the 9th card. Hold on. The 3rd card, the 6th card and the 9th card. We've got the Chariot has come out. Okay, card number 3. Card number 4, 5. Card number 6. Card number 9, 7, 8, 9. Okay. You see, there are so many different techniques you can use for using 3, 6 and 9. If you're a reader like me, that's just something that I just did. And it's a way of basically drawing cards. So if you have a question about something, you can shuffle the deck. You can ask Tesla to come in as a guide, because absolutely he is coming in as a guide for people, and has been for many years. And you can ask him to work through the deck, and you can then say, you know, get a feel for when you need to stop, and then take the 3rd card from the top of the pile, the 6th card from the top of the pile, and the 9th card from the top of the pile, and just see what you get. It's just one thing. Because what we've got here, I'll come back to 3, 6, 9 in a moment, but I just want to show this because this is quite interesting. Again, we've got the energy of fire and water. Okay, we've got 2 aces, and we've got the stranger of tides. So the message here seems to be along the lines of the stranger of tides in this deck feels as though it's linked into curiosity. Something that is not expected, something that you can't see. It's as though you've got to approach manifestation and you've got to approach life a bit like the stranger of tides. He says the thing that people are getting wrong with regards to manifestation techniques is that they're trying to control it too much. They are trying to say to God what it is that they need because they think they know best what they need. Whereas he says, actually, most people don't know best. God knows best. The universe knows best. The universe will give you what you're meant to have at any one moment. And there has to be an acknowledgement and an acceptance of what it then gives. He says fire and water ultimately aren't supposed to mix, but yet they do work together in science alongside each other and are compatible a lot of the time. He's just back to show me the experiment with fire, with water, being curious, the inventor, the creator, what is possible when you just ask why and how. And it's actually just show me like this big question mark, leaving it up to God. So it's almost as though, I don't want to judge anybody else's work, but he's saying a lot of the stuff that's out there at the moment in my name with regards to use a 369 technique to get you what you want, he says it's coming from the wrong premise to start with, because there's an aspect of control, there's an aspect of ego, there's an aspect of I want. If I do this technique based around 369, however that may pan out, I'm going to get what I want. And he's shown me a child stamping its foot, where he's saying what manifests in your life is what God wishes to be there. So I think there's, for example, there's a story about when he used to visit, I don't know, I can't remember the story now, but say he had to give a speech or something like that. And he would get to the building ahead of time where he was going to be giving his speech. And he would, I think, walk around the building, whether it was 3 times, 6 times, 9 times, can't remember now. He had a set routine. He had a set pattern that he used to do. But he says, I used to do that more because I was manifesting in, he showed me the spiral again, I was manifesting in the energy that I needed for that particular experience, for whatever was about to occur to the highest possible timeline for the benefit of the most people. And he says, in that way, I became like a vessel through which whatever was meant to happen would happen. He's saying, can you feel the difference of that approach to a different type of manifestation approach, which is, if I walk around this building 3 times, I'm going to get a round of applause and a standing ovation, and I'm going to be invited onto the next platform to speak, because I've got a train of thought in my head, which is, he's showing me the circuit board again, and it's just, that is the way the energy is going to flow because I'm directing it. He's saying, whereas basically all God is asking of you to do is be on the circuit board. And then there may very well be other avenues, other paths that open up just because you are present. So he's saying it's fine to use the numbers 3, 6, and 9 for manifestation, but you have to have the right mindset, which is to be open to all eventualities, to basically become the vessel through which God can work his magic through you. You are the vessel for that. He says, my inventions, what I created, what I discovered in this lifetime that I had as Nikola Tesla was only possible because I opened myself up to be a vessel for that energy. Now, if God is a word that triggers you, use universe, okay? Use cosmos. It doesn't matter what the word is, just a higher power, okay? It's the antithesis of ego, which is that I'm doing it just for me, to make a name for myself, because I want my name on this. And we know from the first channeling I did with him, I think it was the radio, wasn't it, or the inventions around radio, that another person basically took Tesla's invention and effectively branded it as his own. But Tesla still is not bothered by that, because it wasn't about his name being on it. It was about just being the vessel through which the universe, the higher power, could bring something through for the betterment of society. Okay. 369. Okay, it's interesting because he's shown me, this is going to be a bit weird, but he's saying, you see, the thing about 369 is he says, again, people are too logical about it, and I was too logical about it in my life as well, he's saying, because he's showing me these two cards again. He's saying, as an example, you've sat down today and you're recording this video on the 8th, which is not the 3rd, it's not the 6th, it's not the 9th. It is in the 9th month, he's saying, but it's not the 3rd, it's not the 6th, it's not the 9th. I think it actually works out as a number 5 numerological day today. So he's saying, but time isn't linear. Time isn't linear. He's saying, so there is a part of you that is actually doing this on a different day anyway. Who's to say this is the 8th? Can you see what he's trying to do? He's literally trying to break down all of these structures that we've got in our head, which is that it's the 3rd, so I have to do this. It's the 6th, so I have to do this. It's the 9th. You know, if I keep walking 6 times around the building, this happens. Break out of all that. He says it's more about just having the energy of the numbers 3 and 6 and 9 within you. That you are 3, that you are 6, that you are 9. The mathematical beauty of it all. Again, look back onto my first video. I took us through a sort of pretty basic maths lesson in terms of why the numbers 3, 6 and 9 are particularly special, because they belong to a higher power, basically. So he says, own them, that you are that. He's now showing me the pregnancy and the 3 trimesters of pregnancy. You know, it's like you have this within your body. 9 months, the 3 trimesters, all of that. So, okay, what he's showing me you could do, this is a different type of manifestation technique. I don't really like to call it manifestation technique, to be honest, because that feels such a limited way to describe this as well. He's actually showing me the numbers as codes. So rather than it being a technique, he's saying you can download the frequency of those numbers into your system. And so those of you that follow my work know that often we will download colours, don't we? Or we download a frequency of love, or we download a frequency belonging to Archangel Metatron or Christ or Ganesh, or whatever being that we're working with. And he's showing me these, literally, they're like number codes that can just drop down into our consciousness. And he says, none of this is difficult. He's saying you can also breathe them in. You can breathe in the frequency of the number 3. You can allow the number 3 to drop down through your body, in the same way that you can allow the other numbers, 6 and 9, to as well. So you actually become the numbers. You actually become the numbers. So you open up your crown and you allow those numbers, and numbers are purely energy, just to literally drop down into your cells, to drop down into particular organs. So he's saying, for example, say you have a disease in a particular organ, say you've got a problem with your lungs, allow the energy of the numbers 3, 6 and 9 to flow in there. He's also saying you can, for example, do breath work with it. But it's interesting. It's like he hasn't got a specific, he doesn't want to, he says what humanity does, he says, is if I give just one way of doing it, that will just be the one way people do it. And he says, then you're not the inventor, then you're not the creator, then you've shut down all the circuits of imagination and creativity within you because somebody else has told you how to do it. He's saying, use your imagination, use your higher self, ask me to help you. He's coming in as a guide here. So he's saying, if, for example, you're unwell and you're wanting to work with the numbers 3, 6, 9, ask me. Ask for my energy to be with you. to show you how to work, for example, with, there's so many different ways of doing it, with breath work, with steps. He again showed me the labyrinth. I don't know, walking for 3, then pausing for the count of 6, then walking again for 9. I actually did it on the beach with my daughter months ago. I lived near the sea and we were looking for sea glass. And I realise now that's why he wanted me to have sea glass on the altar. I did have it earlier. We were looking for sea glass and there's not much of it on my particular beach. But anyway, I said to my daughter, right, I'm determined to do this. It was just after I'd channeled Nikola Tesla. And so I said, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk forward for 3. Then I'm going to walk to the side for 6. And then I'm going to walk back for 9. I mean, that was just what I came up with on the day. And I did actually found a piece of sea glass. And she was like, oh my God. But again, I was in the moment of belief. Because again, if you put too much structure onto that technique in terms of, right, every time I'm going to do that, every time I walk forward for 3, then go to the left, and then I walk back, then I find what I want, you've closed down the circuit. Because you need to have the energy of magic. You need to have the energy of suspended belief. You need to have the big open arms and textbook where anything could happen. So it's more about mindset and intention, and working with the numbers. The numbers alone can't do anything solo. They have to be coupled with the right energy and the right vibration and the right frequency. Okay. Yeah. Right, let's go back to some questions. All right. Okay, we're going to ask about free energy. This is quite a big subject. So maybe ask if what we're going through now with the electric companies is the start of the process to an abundance of electricity that is free. So many have said that that's to come in the future. Is it an accurate prediction? Yeah. Okay, we're going to look at this then. This is quite a big chunk of work. Okay, and then we'll look specifically at electrical cars as well. Okay, but I want to talk about free energy firstly. I'm just going to, though, firstly grab myself a hot drink because I feel like I need it just to sustain me. Because again, we're talking about fuel, we're talking about energy. I need some now. Okay, hold on, back in a minute. Hi everyone, so I just took a little break and I just want to go back a couple of steps to talk about 369 again with additional information. 2 things I've just been given. One is working, when I was talking about imagining the numbers dropping down into your being, that's one way of doing it. Another way would be to work with sacred geometric shapes. So the number 3 corresponds to the energy of the triangle, okay, which we all know and love. So you can imagine the energy of 3 coming in with the triangle and literally visualizing that somewhere within you, maybe putting inside the triangle a particular color, a particular energy, such as health, balance, love, peace, whatever. The energy of 6 is linked into the hexagon, okay? The hexagon is the energy that links to the energy of 6. Sorry. The hexagon is the shape that links to the energy of 6. So same thing, imagining the energy of the hexagon filled with a particular colour, a particular vibration, or a particular sound, which we'll come to in a moment. And then number 9 corresponds to the nonagon. Now, I think in my last video, I showed the nonagon card and I cannot find it. It's literally teletransported somewhere. It's on its own little Doctor Who journey and will turn up probably back at my door at some point. But the nonagon is the shape, you can Google it yourself, that represents the number 9. So you can work with the triangle, the hexagon and the nonagon. Nonagon, okay? You can work with all three if you want to. It literally is like putting pieces of a jigsaw together. That's what Tesla is showing me. These different shapes. He's actually showing me. Do you remember when you were a kid, or maybe you have had children, and you used to have one of those shape sorters? Young children, and they try and put the circle through the circular hole and the square through the other hole. That's what he's showing me, but he's actually, these are different shapes. These are the shapes of the hexagon, the triangle, and the nonagon. And the thing that you're trying to put these shapes into is your mind, your brain, your heart, your solar plexus, whatever, wherever you want to basically place them. So imagine yourself literally like one of those plastic toys that we used to have as children, and you're putting into it the energy of, as I say, hexagon, triangle, nonagon, 3, 6, 9. And then what he's showing me is that child's toy. You basically are the child's toy, because we're all children of the universe. Once it's got all three of those shapes inside it, there's just this beautiful, he's showing me a kaleidoscope now. It turns into a beautiful kaleidoscope of colour, of opportunity, and of potential. So that's lovely. That's a really nice thing just to note. Remember, as a technique that Tesla's just given you, that you are that toy, okay? And into it, you put in these shapes, which has the frequency of the numbers 3, 6, and 9. The other thing during the break, I was drawn to get another deck. It's a great deck, I've showed it to you before, from a lady called Emily Kisvarda. It's the Sacred Geometry Healing Cards. I'm actually using 2 decks which are linked into sacred geometry. The other one is the Francine Hart deck, which has been on the market for quite a long time. But Emily's deck is great because she's also included the energy of frequencies. And I had a little look, and there's 3 in here, all which have the energy of the numbers 3, 9, and 6 in different orders. So I'm going to just read from the very comprehensive book that you get with the deck, what these 3 frequencies are. So we'll start with 639 itself. Then, we'll look at 396, 639, and then 963. And of course, this is linked into a sound frequency, a Hertz frequency. Those of you that have tuning forks, you may very well have tuning forks that link into these particular frequencies. These 2 are not the frequencies we're talking about, but if you work with the energy of tuning forks, you may very well have these frequencies within your tuning fork kit. If you're going to ask me where do I get tuning forks from, the company that I've gone to in the past, I'm assuming they still sell them, is a company called Sound Travels, and they're on the internet. It's a UK company. So you put Sound Travels tuning forks in, you'll probably come up with some, you'll probably get it. Right, so the first vibration, how do we work with the numbers 396? You work with the frequency of 396 Hertz. Now also, we're so blessed to have the internet age now, something that Tesla didn't see come to fruition, although he imagined it into being. He planted a seed, a time capsule, because there are amazing videos with healing music linked into all of the different frequencies that you could ever wish for. So you can type into YouTube healing video 396 Hertz and you'll get a video that comes up. So 396 anyway, this combination of the 3 numbers is helping you to liberate yourself from guilt and fear, okay? And Emily's put an affirmation here which says, I release all guilt and fear from my cellular memory now. Okay, so what are we wanting to manifest? We're wanting to manifest that we are free from guilt and fear, that I am liberate guilt and fear. So that's the first one. It says, helps release from feelings of guilt and fear by allowing you to gently bring down the walls holding you to these emotions. As your defenses drop, this frequency can help to remove the blockages that are stopping you from bringing some harmony, joy, and happiness into your life. So 396 is about liberation from guilt and fear. Okay. Let's now, he's showing me, what are they called? Not a roulette wheel. It's like a jukebox roulette wheel type thing, where it's like you press it and then there's another combination of numbers that come up. Anyway, so the next combination of these three is 639. 639 Hertz. So again, you can find healing music with the vibration of 639 Hertz on YouTube very easily, or on a podcast. And this one is to do with reconnection of relationships to self and others. So strikes me that it's probably very linked into the energy of the heart chakra as well, this one. And it's about reconnecting and balancing of relationships, whether that's family, friends, acquaintanceships, business associates. And again, it's going into deep cellular level. So it's working with that particular Hertz. Push the jukebox again, the three numbers all get jumbled up, and we now get 963 Hertz. Okay, 963 Hertz is linked into the frequency of, some call it the frequency of the gods. It's the I am energy. It's the energy of divinity within, where we completely own that and we're connected into it. I've also heard it said that it's linked into stimulating the pineal gland. So it will help to remove brain fog, mental clarity will come in. But yeah, it's basically that's sort of like, that's a big frequency if it's connected into the energy of I am, which is our true state of being. So yeah, that's another nice little way that you can incorporate the frequencies of these numbers in different orders for different reasons. And also use the energy of shapes, the hexagon, the triangle, and the nonagon, as well as just asking for one particular number to flow in and work with you, become the number. Right, where are we going now? I think where we're going now is we're going to talk a little bit about energy. There's a lot of questions coming in on Instagram about energy. Very pertinent topic right now in our world, isn't it? So I've been sitting on doing this channeling video for a little while. Am I recording? Yes. And just because I haven't had the time and space, but I have now. And I know that free energy is one of the things that Tesla wants to talk about. I don't think you're necessarily going to like the answer he wants to give at this time. Only this time. Remember your Doctor Who. You've just stepped out of the Tardis. We're in 2022. You have to live within the confines of the age that you're in, even though you may want to plant seeds for something in the future. We're still a bit of a way off free energy, I'm sorry to say. Although I have to say, yesterday I was watching a video from somebody who went to Haiti. It was fascinating, actually. It was a documentary on a guy who went to Haiti to just show us what it's like on street level there. I don't know if I've got any followers in Haiti. If I have, hello, you're very welcome. But one of the things he showed was the electrical lines, like the official electrical lines, and in the I don't know what they call it, but you know, the houses on the hill, they're all governed by different gangs, and you know, it's quite lawless, a lot of violence, etc. So nobody's suggesting that anybody does this in your country, okay? Don't want to start a trend here. But what they were doing is some of them were linking their own electrical lines to the main line and basically getting free electricity. But it was like lawlessness, okay? It was just like there was no rule of law there. There's no government. I mean, it might be now. This was whenever it was I was watching the video. It was of a time period. But yeah, it was interesting that that was an example of free electricity because the people had taken it into their hands, but no regulation, probably no safety, and yeah, a country that was spiraling big time into anarchy. I hope it's a little bit better and now, but I know it's a difficult place to be. So free fuel, free electricity, it's what Tesla was all about, wasn't it? That, you know, he believed that this was possible. And of course it is possible, he's saying. Every time I channel him, it's a particularly windy day. It's a very, very windy day here. We've got all of the elements displaying their magnificence, gales, we've had thunder, we've got extraordinarily strong sunlight coming in, we've had rain. This is all just in one day. The power of the elements. If we can harness the power of the elements, solar, wind, and water as well, wave power, is what he's saying. You know, yes, free power is possible. But he's wanting to take us up to a higher level in terms of why this has not yet happened. This is appropriate to the time that he lived in, but it's also appropriate to the time that we are still in now. And the answer that you're not going to like, but the answer he keeps giving me, is that we won't get free electricity, free fuel, until we have mastered energy within ourselves as a species. Until we have grappled with our shadow energies of greed in particular, and want, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but it is what I keep hearing from him. So let me just go back into this and let's just feel what he wants to say afresh today on this. Free power. Okay, he's saying it comes with responsibility. And mankind, society in general, has not mastered responsibility. Let me just sit with this for a moment. I want to get the words right. Free fuel. He's saying nothing is truly free unless it's free for everyone. And he's showing me big pockets of society that are still wanting more than their share. This is the truth, isn't it? This is the unpalatable truth, even if we don't want to see it. This is a shadow card that I've just pulled. It says quandary and crossroads. This is where mankind is right now. We're in a quandary. We're at a crossroads. This is linked into duality, consciousness. It's linked into light and dark. It's linked into the fact that those in power that have all the power, that have the money, are playing a role at this time. They're only basically there because we're allowing them to be there, is one thing. It's also because for a huge majority of the population, and don't get triggered by this, they want them to be there. If you actually look around at the state of the world and the way people are, people want to be told what to do. They don't necessarily want to pay the high prices for the fuel or the energy, but wanting to be told what to do and wanting to be managed by something up here, an umbrella type energy, which is what a lot of the world still wants. They don't want self-governance. They don't want self-empowerment. They want to be told what to do. Tesla's saying that comes with a price. A price. Freedoms being one of them. And the energy of freedom of fuel and free power is one of the prices of giving away our power to others. So when humanity stands up and says, no more, we don't wish to play this game of charades, free fuel will come in, free power will come in. But not until we have untangled ourselves from an energy of what feels like codependency. Now, you might not have that, but it is out there. And I'm just turning here to a question that came in from one of you on Instagram. Thank you, Lena, I think it is. She says, how do we step out of the dependency and blind trust of systems and governments and step into communities and bring back the trust in our human abilities? How do we come together and help each other? We are many who want this change, but don't know how to. Thank you, Amanda and Tesla, for your work of a better day. In many ways, Alina has articulated what his response was, which is that we are, as a species, codependent on the systems and the governments, and have been for hundreds and hundreds of years. And until we break free from that and turn to a different model, which will be linked more into community and, very importantly, our own, being empowered sovereign beings, we're always going to have a layer up here that are controlling resource. I would love to sit here and, say, oh yeah, he's saying that free electricity is going to be here in the next 5 years. It's not what I'm feeling from him. And I think it's completely unrealistic to think that. I've also noticed there are some comments here on med beds and things like that, and how soon are they all going to be coming in? And let me just go into my own self for a moment, but I really feel I have Tesla's backing here because it's the same energy. Have you seen the state of the health service in this country, for example? Have you seen the state of the health service in other parts of the world? There's the idea that we can just bring in this technology. Who's going to fund all this? These are really difficult questions for humanity. Who's going to fund all of this? Because if you really go into it, you're expecting others to fund, for example, these med beds in every hospital for every person that could ultimately need them. We're on cloud nine again. It's not grounded. This is going to take a lot longer than people are realizing, a lot longer for everybody to have these new technologies. Okay. I'm not saying med beds are the answer, by the way. It's just I'm responding to questions that have come in this morning. I just think we have to be realistic about the age in which we are born. Our boots are on the ground here in 2022. Who's going to fund all of this technology? Now, ultimately, it can come in when we all equally put our hands in our pockets. Are you prepared to do that? And these are just really difficult questions to answer. Only you can answer that. Some of you will say, yes, I'm very happy to do that. Others won't want to, because it has to come in via some other way, taxes or whatever. Anything that is large scale has to be organised. And something that has to be organised has to be managed. And something that has to be managed has to be paid for. And people have to be doing that. They're not going to be doing it for nothing. So, back to this thing about free fuel, free medical care for all. It comes in when he's now showing me a ladder. And he's showing me that there's a ladder. Humanity, we are on a certain rung of the ladder. To get to where we need to be, where, for example, there's free fuel, there's much better free healthcare for everybody, including the new technologies that want to come in, we have to jump up to a much higher level on the ladder of evolution as a species. And at the moment, there's this great big hole in the ladder. So say we're here on rung 10, where we need to get to is rung 25, but I'm not even seeing there's any rungs on which to, it's literally going to be a big leap, a leap into the unknown. Is humanity willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? He says. So these are really difficult questions to answer, and he's wanting to come in and encourage, and he's wanting to come in and say, yes, the technology is there. Nature is there. She's not going away. The power of the wind, the power of the waves, the power of the sun, it's all there. But we have to get back to a more community-centered approach where it's for all, not just for the few. And it's too easy to think, he says, that if you just take away that top strata, the elite, and suddenly they're not there anymore, that, he's saying, put it this way, where humanity is at the moment, in terms of frequency, if you took away that top strata, who have all the money, all the power, you would find another layer would just come up to replace it. He's shown me, actually, it's a bit like the analogy is scum on the top of water. Or when you make a soup and it's just like the scum rises to the surface. There'd just be another layer that came up to replace it until humanity has evolved beyond what it is at now. What's it going to take, Tesla, to get us to that place? He's saying that's not to say there aren't things individuals can do. We'll come to that in a moment. But humanity generally, what is it going to take for humanity to get from level 10 to level 25? I'm just shuffling cards. I just want to see what I'm getting. What's it going to take to bridge that gap? That huge gap. Got a pain that's suddenly developed in my my kidney area. Ooh, that's really nasty. It's a big detoxification needed by humanity. How do we bridge the gap, Tesla? He's shown me that some of us are already on rung 25. I'm just seeing this hand reaching down from rung 25 to the ones on rung 10 and pulling people up. God, there's so much shadow energy to come up, guys. This is an interesting deck. I mean, I haven't really used it very much, but it's all shadow energy that's coming up here. Humanity has to look at its shadows. What does that say? Unseating anxiety. What does this one say? Dimension of shadow, perfect circle. Let me just look at what that one is about. This is a six-sided deck, I've just realised. Look at this. It's actually a six-sided deck. There we go. Another way to use the numbers. Right, let me see what this card is about. Dimension of shadow, perfect circle. Right. Right. Okay. So this is what's stopping us ascending as a humanity at the moment. One of the things. As the dimensional expanse falls into denial, the need to defend oneself keeps light out. The power of logic used to deny that which it cannot perceive, and the ability of circular thinking to generate a powerful impulse to believe. This card warns of the mind's ability to generate ideas that prove each other, thereby generating an intense sense of certainty and fooling, even trapping one into their self-reflective misery of justification. How is logic and how things are is getting in my way of creation? This is humanity just has an energy at the moment of this is just the way things are. This is the way things have always been. Duality, we've always had this. There's always been governments. There's always been, you know, the powers up there and we're just down here. We can't see past it. We can't see past it. Oh God, look at that. Look at that. Next card, Leap of Faith. Brilliant cards. I've never used these cards before. Leap of Faith. We're going to have to take a big leap of faith as a species before we get to these free gifts and goodies and blessings. Because quite frankly, right now, we're not at a level to be able to That's where we are. That's where we are. Us and them. We're stuck in us and them. This is so tied into all the violet pill teaching that I've done over the years. This is... I can't believe these cards, to be honest. I mean, I've got Tesla here, but it's like I wasn't expecting this message to come through quite so strongly. We can't put down the mask of good guys, bad guys, light and dark, us and them. We can't see past it. Right, okay, how do we get out of this then? I don't like this energy. Let's concentrate on the leap of faith. How do we take this leap of faith, Tesla? He's saying you've got to imagine it's possible. You see, even the questions that are coming in today, and thank you very much for them, they're almost coming in. I'm not meaning this to be horrible to anybody, because I would include myself in this. It's almost like the questions are coming in from a place of need. You know, it's like there's a neediness energy. It's like, but when's it going to change? And I need it to change, and I want it to change. And it's like, and what's the date it changes? But it's like no one's sort of saying, well, that lady did actually. What work do we have to do to get us to that point? That's the question we need to be answering. But equally, we need to be seeing past all of this shadowy yuckiness, which is within us. And we need to be concentrating on this big leap of faith. And it starts with every single individual, every single one of you. My last video on the fuel crisis and the food crisis, if you've watched that, you're more in tune with where I'm at with this. This is what Tesla's saying as well. It starts with you as an individual. This winter, if the lights go out, the fuel goes off, are you going to share? Are you going to go to your neighbour next door and say, are you cold? Do you want to come into our house? We've got a fire. Are you going to do that? Only you can answer these questions. But that's what we all have to be doing. And the thing is, you see, the more that unity comes in and community comes back, the powers that were, as I like to call them, the elite up here, the people with all the power and the money, they'll all just dissolve. It'll all just dissolve. It will all dissolve because we will be at a higher frequency as a world. And they won't be able to sustain they won't be needed, but their lower energy won't be able to survive a higher frequency planet. We have to raise the frequency of the planet. He's now showing me Mother Earth. Back to the children's toy, that plastic toy. You know, we were putting the 3, 6 and 9 energies into it. He's showing me that's actually what we need to do for Mother Earth. And he's saying it needs to happen at particular places and particular hotspots around Mother Earth. So, you know, I mean, to be honest, it could happen in every single country. It doesn't have to be the hotspots. But there are particular places where if you put in the energy of, for example, those Hertz frequencies I was talking about in terms of releasing the fear and the guilt. Which one was that? That was the frequency of 396. If you put that into the energy at the top and the bottom, you know, Antarctica and the Arctic, that's going to boost, that's going to fire up the grid. That's going to fire the grid up. If you put, and imagine the Earth again as the toy with the holes in it, and you're putting into it the energy of the hexagon into Africa, and you're putting the energy of the triangle into Canada, and you're putting the nonagon into Europe, you know, it's that then the world becomes like this kaleidoscope. And I know this is sounding a bit new agey, but it's like, this is what I'm being told to tell you, okay? You've got to become the numbers. The world's got to become the numbers. For the world to lift and vibrate at a higher frequency, it's got to have the right food fed into it, the right frequencies, the right sacred shapes, etc. So, yeah, we're still a little bit of a way to go on the curve before we're all going to be having the free fuel. This is a nice one. I want to go here. What is the future of energy healing? Thank you, Irene. What is the future of energy healing? It's a bit weird for me asking him this question because I do genuinely feel I'm working with some of the future energies anyway. But the thing is, they're not future energies. They're energies that have been around forever. It's just they're becoming more mainstream. Because it's the energy of colour, it's the energy of light, it's the energy of sound. It's the combination of so many things that we already know but are going to be utilised more in the mainstream. But it's more about self-healing is what I'm feeling. You know, doctors, nurses, hospitals, they're always going to be there. There's always going to be remedies, there's always going to be potions. But he's saying the future of medicine is prevention. Isn't that interesting? The future of medicine is prevention. So there's going to be much more take up of and ownership and empowerment in terms of preventing disease, preventing illness from gaining root in the body. And he says this comes back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of maintaining and strengthening your own electromagnetic field, your own chakra system, for want of a better word. You know, the whole body, mind and soul energy. So prevention is better than cure. It's working with light on a daily basis. It's working with vibration on a daily basis. It's working with frequency and sound on a daily basis. It's working with nature on a daily basis. It's working with your own power on a daily basis. It's creating the environment within your body to be as hospitable to the energy of love as you can make it. And he's showing me our bodies, the inside of our bodies, as being like a garden. And he's saying inside the garden of your body, it should be fragrant and well tended. So if you link into the inner body within yourself, if you're truthful, you'll know whether there are stagnant pools of energy within it. This can be to do with unhealed trauma, things you haven't wanted to look at, things you haven't wanted to say, the wrong things that you're doing to the body, you're ingesting, being around the wrong environments, the wrong people, festering on things, not channeling your anger, not sleeping right, not exercising, all of that, you know. To keep the inner garden healthy, takes regular maintenance, and he's shown me the garden. It's interesting because the garden also links into the cycles of nature, autumn, spring, summer and winter, and the different things that the body needs for different seasons. And he says people are out of touch with their bodies, they're out of touch with their own biochemistry, even the word biochemistry. They're out of, they don't, that their own, that they just see the surface. They see the surface being. They are not in touch with the cellular structure within themselves. They don't see their cells and their organs as being part of themselves. I've often thought this actually myself, just, you know, if you're really overeating, for example, if you actually could see your stomach when you had just ingested a whole load of stuff, and how much it was straining or having to expand to take in yet another thing, you know, I think it would wake us all up. But it's complex, of course it's complex. It's the emotional body, it's the mental body, the physical body, the spiritual body. He's just talking about prevention more than anything, prevention. But yes, the frequencies of light being important. What's available in the quantum field. He says everything is available in the quantum field. The quantum field, the universal field, the cosmic field that is around us, in the air that we breathe, in the ground that we walk. It's all accessible. He's showing me now a man, it could be you, it could be me, and they're just walking through life. I'm just seeing the silhouette of this man, and around them is everything that they could possibly need, and it's just frequencies of light, notes, vibrations, tones, qualities, which would include things such as peace, love, harmony, calmness. Everything is there. We're walking through this beautiful symphony, he's saying, of parts that are available at any one time. But we close ourselves off because we don't see ourselves as part of the universal consciousness. We see ourselves just as this very small little human body, with a very small little human life. And we need to open up to the wider consciousness of who we are, who we truly are. This child of the universe that has everything they could possibly need, but you have to be open to it. You have to be open to receive it. You have to be open to allow the magic in. There is no right or wrong, he's saying as well, though, in terms of the way people conduct their lives whilst they're here, because everybody is here to have the experience they're meant to have. And some people are meant to experience what it feels like to be unwell. So again, the quest for perfect health sometimes also needs to be put into the context that illness can also be a teacher, that illness is sometimes is there to also show and demonstrate something to the soul. It can be a soul choice as well. But the future of medicine, the future of, I just want to can you just show me the type of things we're going to be doing in the future to help ourselves? It's interesting. He's saying sleeping for longer. He's saying the rhythms of the biorhythms within the body are out of whack in most people. Most people are not getting enough sleep. They're not devoting enough time to sleep. And it's because of the 24/7 society culture that you live in, that there needs to be more time to switch off and rest. Being critical. He's showing me, for want of a better word, a hospital, but it's outside. It's in a more of a nature setting, or has access to nature. I don't think this is 5 years down the line. Again, we come back to money and who's going to pay for it and how do we get to these places. But he's just shown me a vision of a future hospital type scenario, and it's got like this roof, and the roof opens up and it allows in the energy of the elements. I mean, I know that flies against, a lot of medical training, which is like, you can't do that. You're not even allowed, you're not even allowed to bring a bunch of flowers into hospitals anymore because they might be contaminated with, germs or whatever. But this is the polar opposite. This is literally just let nature in, let the elements in. It's what's needed for healing. Obviously the roof goes back and forth. It also closes as well if you've got like a torrential rainstorm or something, but I'm seeing that access to nature. I'm also seeing people sitting out in nature. It feels a bit more like it's like the old days of like a cottage type hospital of people sitting outside. Again, I've got the energy of the trees, the grass, the birds, the garden, nature, settings in nature. He's saying everyone is talking about technological advancements, which, yes, will be happening. But again, it's this thing about coexistence between the past and the future. Technological advancements, laser technology, light technology, yes, yes, yes. But also the merging with more natural, traditional methods. And I'm just seeing like this old person, and she's got like an old blanket on her knee, and she's being wheeled out in a little wheelchair, and she's sitting under the grass, and somebody's bringing her some tonic to drink, and it's very community based, I suppose. So again, I said this in my last video, that the emergence of both needing to coexist together. Okay, one more, because I'm getting a bit tired. There's just so many questions. We'll have to come back again. Lots of people asking about electric cars. Does he have an opinion on electric cars and their safety? Can they meddle with our electrical systems as humans if we drive them? Thank you to both of you. Electric cars. Well, electric cars are being brought in, whether we like it or not, across the world. What is there to say on electrical cars? I'm going to pull a card, guys. I'm getting a little bit tired, so I don't know how much I'm going to get on this. You see, but I've been talking about energy and mastering our energy. And this is a big part of it. It's also about, can we master our own energy? When we're tired, do we stop, or do we just carry on and then deplete ourselves? Do we overgive? Are we balanced between giving and receiving? That card just absolutely flew out of the deck. The Two of Tides, the two wolves. I think wolves and dogs came up last time with Tesla. Two of Tides would be the Two of Cups in this deck. I'm not quite sure why that's just thrown itself out of the deck, linked into electric cars. To be perfectly honest with you, let me just see if I can get anything. I'm going to sign off in a minute because I feel like I've done as much as I can today. Maybe electric cars has to be for another day. Why is this flown out of the deck? The Two of Tides. Okay, I'm not going to talk electric cars today. This is going into a different area now. This is again about community. It's about looking after each other. The pack. The pack. Wolves are in a pack, aren't they? Teaching the elder ones in the pack, teaching the younger ones in the pack. What goes with the Two of Tides? Why have you given me this? Why have you given me the Two of Tides? Wheel of Fortune. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to do electric cars today. I can't. I'm too tired. But I tell you what, he wants to end it here today, and I'm going to respect his energy as well. Never thought about it like this before, but what he's showing me is when you do channeling, it's really exhausting when you channel. People who channel know exactly what I'm talking about. But equally, for the person that comes through, they have to actually change their frequency so they can even come and approach somebody like myself or any other channeler. It takes a lot of energy for them as well. So there's this impression that we just click our fingers and they can just tell us the answers to the universe. Because that's what we do as human beings. Like, we don't want to work it out for ourselves. Like, you tell us what to do. And so he's also saying, no, I need a rest as well. But where he wants to end it is this is positive. This is basically saying that humanity will get there. Humanity will learn how to live in a pack again, to be part of a tribe again, to look after its elderly, to look after its young. Wolves are very protective. Wheel of Fortune, it's coming in. And what's leaving, this was on the bottom of the deck, is the fighting, the persecution, and the world is the end of that, the end of a cycle. But he's not going to give a date in terms of when that's happening, because how many lifetimes have you and I been here? I mean, I've been here God knows how many times, and so have you. But yet the human ego wants to know, when is it going to happen in this particular incarnation? What about the another 10 incarnations you might have? You might be saying, stop, Amanda, I'm not going to come back another 10 times. You don't know, because that's coming from your head space, not your soul. Not your soul. It's the soul that decides. It's the soul that says when it's had enough and when it wants to come back. And, you know, again, think about Doctor Who. Imagine if Doctor Who got out of the Tardis and the next stop he comes to, the next incarnation, there's nothing there. You've done it all. It's all done. All the questions are answered. You wouldn't even bother. And actually, at that point, creation would stop. Creation would stop. Everything would just implode. That's not going to happen. So I think for now, he's just wanting to take us to the wolf pack and the Wheel of Fortune, and to say that, yeah, this old energy of us fighting each other, persecuting each other, all those shadowy stuff that we had at the beginning or at the middle part of this video, it will leave, but it's going to require a leap of faith, guys. So I think what we should do is Tesla's advice at the start of this video, which is treat every day as an experiment. Imagine as you wake up that what can I discover today? What is going to be revealed to me today? When I come out of my TARDIS, what am I going to be met with? What are the ingredients? What is the stimuli? What can I do with that? Remember to stay in your heart, okay? Roll up your sleeves and take each day as it comes. And in terms of the free energy and the fuel, work on community yourself, work on what you can do to help others, work on what you can share. But also it's about mastering your own energy, looking after your own energy. Okay, so fueling it right, resting it right, looking after it, protecting its space, etc. Electric cars we'll do next time. All right, we'll do that next time. Thanks very much. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you for watching. Please like it, please share it. It will get it out to more people. And I look forward to talking to Tesla again soon. I'm actually now going to get out into that beautiful sunshine and wind at the moment, go down to the sea and refresh myself as well. Lots of love, everybody. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. Thank you, Tesla.